Steering wheel, somebody tell him to give it to me.
There's something loose between my legs.
I don't know. Let go!
I'm heavier than a freaking boat.
Nothing he's could say could make that any better.
Yeah, nobody. No more radio for the rest of the race.
I'm going home.
Hello and welcome to DRS FC, an F1 podcast by soccer nerds. I am a soccer nerd. I am Donald. I'm here with two other soccer nerds. We're going to talk about the United States Grand Prix. First off, Meghan. How are we doing today, Meghan?
You know, I'm not patriotic about a lot of things, but I'm patriotic about the Austin GP, baby. America.
America is going to be a hot America down at Circuit of the Americas. I also have André with me. André, it's Haas time. It's the home race.
Sure. Go Haas.
Wow, that was a hater moment. You do not believe, sir.
I'm not. I hate they're not an American team. I know they want to be an American team. I know Gene Haas is an American. I understand all of that, but every time they come out with that American livery, it just looks bad. It's like, if you're gonna commit, be gross with it. That's the way you're supposed to do it when it's America. You got to be gaudy red, white, and blue. None of these little like swoopy fake black and white stars. What is that?
We need
Antifa.
Eagles.
Oh wait, hold on. They got the Antifa car. I'm in all of a sudden.
Oh, here we go. Cadillac, you have 12 months to respond. 12 months to respond. Yes, as we are discussing, the United States Grand Prix is this weekend. We are back at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, which we'll talk about the track very quickly. André, first, I'll lead with you because you like to give some of the stats about this track. So go ahead.
Yes, sir. Circuit of the Americas is a 3.42 mile long track. That's right. I went miles first because we in America, damn it. That is 5.51 kilometers if you need that.
What the hell is a kilometer, baby?
That's a
Sorry,
good
I'm going to be
question.
so obnoxious. I haven't cared about my country in years.
Right. I was going to say, especially nowadays, but whatever. They will do 56 laps in the Grand Prix. Of course, this is a sprint weekend, which we will get into. But the race lap record was set in 2019 by Charles Leclerc in a Ferrari. Imagine that. It was 1 minute 36.169 seconds. So interesting.
And
If you've never seen it, can't recommend more. The video of Charles Leclerc driving around Austin with the Top Gun soundtrack behind it. Truly the most aesthetic F1 video that's been released in years. Shout out to Doug, our beloved member of our group chat, not on the podcast, who brings it up every year. I look forward to your retweet, sir.
I look
Retweet.
forward to the barbecue. And Oscar Piastri, I'm already mad at him because he had what appeared to be $700 worth of good old Texas barbecue and
Boy, I got a plate full of meat.
did not offer me not a single piece of brisket, not a one. We will talk about sharing later on in this episode. But let's talk about this track because honestly, when we started this podcast a little over a year ago, this was one of the first races that came up. And the reason that we kind of led with this race is this is one of the favorite tracks amongst the group. Coda is one of the tracks that is one of the favorites for a lot of drivers. It has two DRS zones, but I think the one thing that always stands out to me is turn one. Turn one going uphill and then having almost an entirely 180-degree hairpin turn always leads to chaos on the first lap. It was no different last year where Max and Lando were kind of battling it out, and then all of a sudden, two Ferraris just zoomed past them, and they didn't really know it. And that kind of chaos is what leads me to think that this race, with so much drama still hanging in the balance with regards to the drivers' race, this is going to be real interesting. Also, it's a sprint race. We'll talk about the fact that it's a sprint race a little bit later. I want to kind of meld this into multiple discussions because we will have some tire talk, but I also want to talk about the fact that it is going to be absolutely Hades hot in Austin this weekend. André, you were mentioning this earlier. I need you to tell people the numbers about how hot it's going to be down in Austin.
Yeah, so I know Texas is usually hot, but keep in mind, y'all, this the mid of October, on the back end of October. Friday, you're looking at a high of 92 degrees. Saturday, you're looking at a high of 98 degrees, tire melting temperature. And Sunday, not much cooler, just 94 degrees. It is going to be torturous.
Absolutely no shade, no wind, nothing to really help with that. F1 naturally declared it a heat hazard race weekend, which means that the teams are required to have mandatory cooling systems in
Yes,
place.
nice.
So that is at least helpful. It's not going to do any of these drivers any real favors, but at least it's something. We had it last weekend as well with Singapore. Megan, your thoughts on this track? I know this is one of the favors for a lot of us, but your thoughts?
Well, I will say, as a human who used to live in Florida and now lives in Kansas City, where it is equally hot right now, it's going to be brutal. So I suspect that we will have a lot of drivers in cold tank content. We'll have a lot of drivers in cold vest content, and hopefully that they are all okay. Are all okay. Goodness gracious. One of the fun things about this race that's not really track specific, is just that the content around it tends to be really fun. They lean in very heavily to the cowboy of it all. And so, like we mentioned, Haas is doing a special livery as America's team, more successful than the Dallas Cowboys, many are saying. Um, we've seen lots of cowboy hats on Instagram, and we have some other teams that are also doing special liveries. So it's always kind of a fun one to see like how people lean in. Red Bull normally does some sort of like college football activation situation. I don't think I've seen that yet, but it's just kind of a fun one to be on the internet for. Around this time, just because between this and then the Mexico GP, which is also like a very fun content race, it's just a fun time to be on social media with F1.
I think I saw that Williams is doing a white and blue livery as well. They're bringing out some white with their livery, which is great. Just need to go back to the Gulf colors because I just love that, so iconic. I hope they do that at some point, but it'll be interesting to see that car. Hopefully it doesn't look too much like a Racing Bulls car, but we'll see. And did y'all see, speaking of cowboy hats and everything, Lewis rode a horse.
Yeah,
Did y'all
I
see that?
saw that. Yeah.
That was amazing. I love his caption too. He's so honest. He's just like, first time I could do this because of my allergies. I was like, Lewis, please get it together, sir. Just take some Benadryl or something or some Claritin, you'll be fine. But yeah, I love that. I've been revisiting Red Dead Redemption a lot. Shout out to D'Angelo. Rest in peace,
Yeah.
sir.
Rest in peace, sir.
But I've been playing that game quite a bit, and it was just funny to look up, and it was like a mixing of two worlds because I was just like in a little cut scene as I'm doing it, and I was just like, let me check my phone out real quick, and I saw Lewis in a cowboy hat, and I was like, oh, my worlds are colliding.
And
This is weird.
a plus 44 cowboy themed shirt,
Oh,
which
he's got so
I
much
don't,
plus 44 themes. I'm like,
yeah,
yo, drop the
I don't
link, sir.
need a new Lewis shirt, but do I want a new Lewis shirt? Yeah, yeah, I
Right?
do.
He had
I
so
want a
many.
Cowboy Carter Lewis shirt. Hell
I think
yeah.
there was a hoodie. I saw a couple different t-shirts. I was like, oh, this is a problem for me. But yeah,
They
shout
have
out
a
to him.
tank top. Lewis Hamilton is for the girls. He has a spaghetti strength tank top. Anyway, we knew this. We knew Lewis was for the ladies.
In short, Lewis Hamilton is the clubhouse leader for the Danny Rick and Austin Award,
Yes.
because we need to keep that tradition going strong. Thank you, Lewis, for making that happen for all of us. I want to now get into the tire talk because, as we mentioned, it is going to be hot. The heat will be an issue when it comes to these tires, which already melt on this track, kind of given some of the ups and downs, literal ups and downs that the track offers, but also with the fact that it's going to be 98 degrees air temperature, which means on the track is probably going to be closer to 140. This is going to really affect some of the strategy, Andre.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of got lucky at Singapore where it wasn't as hot as it has been in previous years. And that is not the case here. This is going to be one of the hottest races in Austin in a while. And Pirelli had decided already before this heat wave to skip a compound. So they are starting with their hardest, so C1 tire, but they're skipping the C2 and adding C3 and C4. So a little softer compounds plus this heat, plus the hot track, plus like Donald said, this is a true like middle of nowhere track. You're not going to get winds, a reprieve or anything like that. This is going to be just tires being melted along the asphalt. So I am very fascinated to see how this skipping of a compound does and if it completely makes the soft unusable. So we'll probably know a bit in the sprint race. I know you got to use the mediums for the first two rounds of qualifying in the sprint race, but it'll be interesting to compare those times versus times on the soft tire because I don't know, especially given Saturday, if the soft tire is going to be able to last a full lap.
I venture to say that this. You actually know what? Let me put it to you guys. Do you think this is a one-step strategy type of race with the heat and with these tires, Andre?
Oof, I think maybe for McLaren, but I don't know about anybody else.
Megan?
Yeah, I think it'll be tough. I'm curious if there'll be some tire shenanigans because of the heat. Like if they'll almost go the other direction and be like, well, shoot, these are degrading faster. Like, let's just say F it. I heard an interesting stat on P1 podcast, I'm pretty sure, that apparently McLaren has only had one pit stop this season that was under 3 seconds or 3 seconds or less, which is crazy because we've kind of felt like they've been long, but I don't think I'd like thought about it. So anyway, they've had some really bad pit stops, which means that they might elect, particularly if they're going to have to double stack, to not do it as much. But I can see a team like maybe Red Bull, honestly, they don't really have anything to lose by kind of gambling with it with Max, or with somebody else and seeing if they can push into a 2 or 3 stop. Probably not a 3, but like maybe a 2.
I was definitely thinking the fact that I asked this question to myself. Should it be a two-stop strategy? Yes. Will someone channel the cowboy spirit and go yeehaw and try to go one? Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I venture to say, that is going to be what determines this race is somebody going for it and whether they hit or they miss. It is going to be a little bit of a gamble out there. So we have some other storylines that we want to do, but first, let's quickly compose ourselves, take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. We're talking about the United States Grand Prix, and I want to get to some of the storylines. Let's first start out with just kind of an update on the Drivers' Championship because we're running out of races now, but it is still very, very close when you consider some of the numbers. Oscar Piastri still in first with 336 points. Lando Norris is second with 314, followed by Max Verstappen with 273. After that, you have Russell with 237, Leclerc with 173, and Hamilton with 125. Those are the 6 racers that are above 100 points. The reason why I bring up the points and how close it is between Piastri and Norris, and even to a lesser extent Max Verstappen, is this is a sprint race, which means there is one of these drivers who could get a potential of 33 points, which could really shake up this race. Megan, what are you looking for from this sprint race? And do you think we see a different? We'll talk about the podium predictions a little bit later, but do you think it sets up for a team to one team to win the sprint and another team to win the actual Grand Prix?
I think the sprint this time will be really interesting from a data perspective, because we've had a hot race in Singapore, but this is a different kind of hot race. Like it's in the middle of the day, it's not at night. The sun has a huge factor on things, and so I think you could see a split. Historically, we've had sprints be won by the same team, if not the same driver. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I do know that it has historically gone that way. But I do think because they don't have any data, really, like it has not been this hot in Austin in a while, that has the potential of some teams deciding, okay, we're actually just going to use this for data. We're not really like gunning full all the way. And for those top couple of teams, like for Max, it makes sense that he's going to go all out. Like he doesn't have a cushion. Meanwhile, Lando and Oscar are also going to feel like they need to go all out. So I think it actually has the chance for people to care about the sprint in a way that is not always, the drivers sometimes kind of admit afterwards, like, well, I care, but not that much.
I think also when you think about a team like Mercedes, who somehow won, Russell wins Singapore, and it's kind of goes against the grain of what Mercedes usually does in the heat. But a team like that may go, okay, we're not really competing in the Drivers' Championship. We may be competing for holding on to second in the Constructors, but maybe let's punt on the sprint and focus on the Grand Prix where more points are available. Andre, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Meg. I mean, I think this is going to be fascinating to see from the sprint and how it changes towards the Grand Prix. I do think that you will see 2 different winners of those 2 events. Obviously, not to spoil the predictions, but I do like this. This race is fun. Like McLaren suddenly have kind of lost that domination, and I know we'll talk about that later. But like seeing Max suddenly like winning fairly consistently again interesting now, especially now that he's kind of too far behind. I think mathematically he's not out of it, but like all the things need to go his way. Like if he has one DNF or finishes like bottom five or of the top 10, like in the bottom five of the point scoring, he kind of misses an opportunity unless both Lando and Oscar end up DNFing or something, which obviously given that Lando's engine blew up once, maybe that can happen again. But this is where it's cool to also see Mercedes join in and maybe they're able to be a factor. But all of this just makes me real pissed off at Ferrari because where the hell are y'all?
We're trying. It's Charles's birthday. We want him to be happy.
It is his birthday as we record on October 16th. So happy birthday, Charles. Hopefully it turns, I think all the Ferrari fans will hope that it turns into a great birthday weekend for him. But it's weird. I think when you think about the sprint race and all of the different factors, it's also the fact I also, go back, Andre, to the fact that you mentioned that Saturday is going to be the hottest day. So how much does the data kind of change based on the fact that again, you can kind of go, hey, I don't want literal no smoke with the weather on Saturday. Let's, Friday and Sunday are a little bit more similar in terms of temperature and track conditions that are expected. So maybe you punt on the sprint race because it's only a couple of points here. Sure, try to finish in the top eight, but the difference between first and eight, it's only 8 points. Whereas you can really gain some ground in the Grand Prix, and it's also a little bit further of an indicator of what you can do to kind of switch up your strategy and have the best outcome on Sunday.
Yeah, to me, this is the perfect weekend for McLaren to re-seize their like stranglehold on this season. You have a sprint race, which gives you another set of points to win. You have obviously the Grand Prix, another set of major points to win, but you also have a really hot track. They've been very good with their tire management, way better than anybody. Remember when Christian Horner was like, they got water in their tires? Like, remember all that? Like, they're that good where they were bringing out conspiracy theories, which ain't hard to do for Horner. But like, you're bringing out conspiracy theories from other teams and trying to figure out what they're doing. If they have that same advantage, they need to be in whatever order, one, two, in both events.
So I want to use that to springboard into some of the storylines that we all came up with. And I'm going to take host privileges today because I think the biggest question facing this race is, and Kyle kind of alluded to it as well. He added something like this: will Papaya Rules go away? And really, we're asking, is it going to go away in favor of Oscar? I don't. This is the biggest, most fascinating storyline that's left this season, where two McLaren drivers are going for it. Oscar has been out front, but as we mentioned in Singapore, very much forgotten by a lot of McLaren when it came to them clinching the Constructors' Championship at that race. And now that I didn't share this with you, but there was a link, a video earlier that I saw where someone just compiled all of the Papaya Rules that were in favor of Lando this season, and then they compiled all the ones that were in favor of Oscar. Let's just give you the spoiler alert. There were none in favor of Oscar. Everything was in favor of Lando. And so I wonder now, is it really racing time for these two drivers? And again, if there's a point where Oscar's in front, will they default back to those Papaya Rules, which are supposed to go away now that they have the constructors? So I'm looking at that, and I think that is going to be the most fascinating thing that comes out of these next couple of races, because once we get to Las Vegas and then back to the Middle East, it may be too late for one of these guys. But as I turn it to you, Megan, there's someone else that could factor into this equation as well.
Counterpoint. What if there's more chaos? I know they could get back together and get it all moving in the right direction, or they could not. And there's someone sitting back there. What's that we hear coming over the hill? Is that Max Verstappen's music? It's weird for me to have positive feelings towards Max Verstappen as an underdog. Like, it's kind of fun to see how much, and obviously I would prefer literally anybody else on the grid to be doing this, but I do appreciate that. I don't know, probably a quarter of the way through the season, we all sort of were just like, all right, well, we're Formula 1.5ing again. Like, McLaren's clearly going to go far and away with this. And that has not been the case. And through some self-inflicted wounds, we don't have time really to talk about this, but McLaren is in the middle of a legal battle with one of their other racing divisions that is real interesting, involving a driver who thought that they would be put in over Oscar Piastri. I do not think McLaren is having a great PR week, and there is a chance that it goes even worse this weekend. And as an agent of chaos, I would like to see it.
I think it would be hilarious if more chaos was self-inflicted, and I think the chaos that has surrounded McLaren over the last few weeks has all been self-inflicted, and I think that adds to, I guess, the jokey part of it. But then again, the questions still mount of, all right, that was fun and games when they're doing this, the constructors, Andre, but now it's really just about the drivers, and now they're going to have to make this decision. Who are they going to back in this race or in this drivers championship race? And I don't know that Oscar wants them to have that answer.
Yeah, this is where I want Oscar to just do you, buddy. Like it's not time. Like the constructors is wrapped up. They celebrated without you on last at Singapore. So you know what? Go out there and do what you do. Like put your head down, go win the races. They on the radio being like, I got static, I can't hear you. Like do that sort of thing because you got a drivers championship to win. If you get walked down by Lando Norris, you will it will not be pleasant for you. The rest of your stay at McLaren, however long it is, will not be pleasant. And Max Verstappen is putting a lot of pressure behind both of them. So I think right now the constructors is done. You got to go out there and just be. It's got to be every driver for themselves. And I think he's got to get back to being the Oscar that was sneaking his way by Lando at Monza, like those sorts of things. I want to see that Oscar again, and not the one who's running in the walls.
F1 TikTok girlies not handling the Oscar Papaya Rules situation well. I saw a TikTok to the song from Chicago. They had it coming. So that's how you know it's not going great. I think a lot of people are in favor of Oscar in this one, McLaren, and I think if you pull some bullshit again, you have a chance of not recovering some fans who will be following Oscar to wherever his next location would be.
I'm loving the TikTok girlies as the barometer for what's going on between the drivers. I'm
As
here
a
for
human
it.
who can't edit, I am just amazed by how quickly these edits come out with
Right. I mean,
there's just the
that's
whole
no
world
shade
there.
either. That's me being 100% genuine. Like, I think it's
Oh,
fantastic.
absolutely.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's incredible.
They
But
have
I'll,
these
We love
loaded.
that.
Right. I'll also say though, Meg, you talked about the legal battle there, and by the way, they just lost one of their primary drivers as well, junior drivers, Alex Dunn. He's gone from McLaren. He decided to be like, all right, no, actually, it doesn't look like I'm going to get a seat there. So they released him from his contract, and he's going to end up probably with Red Bull. So like, not only do they have these legal battles, the Alex Dunn thing. So if Oscar happens to leave, who are they going to get to fill that seat? I mean, I'm sure there'll be plenty of other eager drivers. Leclerc was probably like, "Hey, get me out of Ferrari," but like they need to make it work with these two dudes because they're kind of on every other front. There's a little bit of chaos, a little bit of mess going on.
Oscar Piastri, if you are listening to this show, if you are, please let us know. But if you are, and you know any other language than English, you need to use that on the radio this weekend. When they start asking you to do stuff, you gotta be like, don't speak it. What you do
Listen,
not use my
there's a
native
large
language.
population. Yeah, in Tampa, in Texas, my friend. You're about to go to the Mexico GP. Have you been using Duolingo? It's time to pull it out.
Me race number one. That's all you should say, like all the entire time. The other thing you mentioned that they've kind of painted themselves into this corner of if they, again, if things blow up. We talked on the last show. If things blow up, that Oscar could leave and go somewhere else. There could be some sort of severance. But Andre, I turn to you because I know there's this thing that you like to watch, and one of those is Mercedes finally announced that they got their driver lineup for 2026, which takes another potential domino off the table.
It does, but we also don't know for how long because
Right.
Mercedes was like, our 2026 lineup is George and Kimmy. Everybody was like, yeah, obviously. But they didn't say what's going to happen in 2027 or 2028. Like, we have no idea. Now, I've been listening to like the race podcast who has some insiders, and they say that it is a multi-year contract. So technically 2027 is at least included in these contracts. But Mercedes didn't say anything about it. So the question is, does that mean it's a 2-year contract? or is it one of those 1+1s that Lewis Hamilton was like, nope, I'm out of here. I'm going to Ferrari. You're not going to get me on a 1+1. So, like, I'm not sure what's going on with Mercedes. It really feels like they want to remain very, very flexible and kind of survey the driver market to see, like, I mean, think about it. As massively as regulations are changing in 2026, there's at least one big team that's going to absolutely bomb it. Now, they'll probably be able to recover, but it's going to take some time. And if I were to put my money on the big team that will bomb it, I'd probably say Ferrari. Sorry, Meg. But
I was
Womp
going to say
womp.
Aston Martin
Sad
because
Italian noises.
Lance Stroll still exists. So
I mean, as far as the driver, yes, but Adrian Newey's there. I think they're
yeah,
going to be okay. But like, this is what's concerning. And so I don't know if it's Red Bull, that means Max is available. If it's Ferrari, that means Charles is available. Like, you don't really know what Toto's I think he's trying to keep all of his options open. And so even though they were able to win a race at Singapore, George was really good. Kimmy was really good as well. In fact, George said he learned from Kimmy in order to get himself on pole, which was kind of amazing to see. He like looked at Kimmy's data and stole a few things to shave off a bit more time, and then ended up putting the two fastest laps in qualifying out in Singapore. If their car doesn't completely melt its tires like we expected in Singapore, if they can still rely on that, which who knows, because as we always talk about with Mercedes, they don't know why they're ever good. If they can repeat that performance, that makes things very, very fascinating. If George and Kimmy get back into this as far as podium positions and podium places, but also it makes things interesting for Mercedes long term when you look at 2026 and then, of course, 2027, because, yeah, George and Kimmy will be there next year, but who the hell knows after that? So I think you could see and it only takes one. It only takes one driver of a pretty big name to be like, you know what, I'm out of here, or this isn't helping me maximize my career at the moment. I'm gonna go somewhere else and look for other options, and then all hell breaks loose. Which brings me to why the hell did Pierre Gasly sign that contract?
well, don't worry because like his contract, like whatever contract Mercedes has George Russell under, like the contracts that a lot of these guys signed, they're written with the disappearing ink. So, as you mentioned, if somebody big decides they want to move elsewhere, again, one of the McLaren drivers, Max, Charles, if he decides that the Ferrari thing is not working anymore, if Alonso decides to retire, and again, Aston Martin
Yeah.
decides that they want to get back into this thing, all of these contracts that are currently on deck right now, they could be ripped up very quickly. It feels
and
like this is the
and
sport that does that.
say McLaren isn't as dominant next season.
Right.
Say like them, Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull, maybe they're all within like 2/10 of each other, and it's a toss-up track to track. Why would Oscar stay? Go somewhere where you can be the main number one driver, right? Like, I'm just like, it can get really weird next year, but that's why this year to me is so important how this year ends, because it's so important for somebody to not have a really bad taste left in their mouth. Because once 2026 hits, it's going to be very easy to get somebody to pry somebody out of one of those seats.
Yeah, I think that's also part of the end of this. And then again, the addition of Kick Sauber coming in, turning into Audi, and then
Yep.
Cadillac entering the fray. You got more drivers, and really, I mean, with Cadillac bringing in their duo, their veteran duo, I know they might feel like they're there for the long term, but again, the dominoes that sometimes happen in this sport when it comes to silly season is incredible. And with 2026, as you mentioned, with those regs, someone's gonna bottle it, and when they do, someone's going to panic, and I think the panic sets in. That's when chaos happens. Let's pause it right here because we need to get to our podium predictions before we get out of here and our constructor scrap. So stay right there. We'll be right back. All right, we are back, and now we turn our attention to what you've probably waited all this episode for, our predictions, where we decide who we think is going to win the United States Grand Prix, which constructors we think are going to be worst and best. And later on in the review, we get to look at how wrong we are. I'm going to start with Kyle because Kyle was not able to make it on this episode. He's under the weather. We hope he's feeling better soon. But he, in his prediction, has 1, 2, 3. He has Lando, Oscar, and Max. with Max winning the sprint race. So kind of a shakeup there. And again, it gives you your top three in some order that would cause this chaos to continue at least one more week. Andre, I go to you. Who is your top three? And I guess your sprint race winner.
I feel like I do the same podium every single week. So I've
It
got
keeps working,
Oscar.
right? So
Well, we'll see. I've got Oscar, I've got Max second, and I've got Lando third. But I do have Lando winning the sprint. I think he's gonna do. Didn't he do that in Miami where he like won a sprint and you were like, "Ooh, watch out for Lando," and then he didn't win the race. So
yeah, yeah. Meghan, how about you?
Because I want maximum chaos, I would like Max to win the sprint and the race, which feels terrible to say. I want Oscar to come in second, and then I want Charles to get a birthday present. So Charles, here's a bronze.
Meghan, are you feeling okay? You've really gone with Max this whole episode.
I hate it. Friends from behind the scenes, we had about 10 minutes of technical difficulties because the Dutch still hate me, and I am just trying to get back on their good side. And also, I'm a little chaos gremlin, and sometimes, in order to get chaos, I have to root for the bad guys to do a thing.
That Dutch flu is a serious one. Hopefully you get over it. Get over it soon. Okay, so my podium, I have Max winning as well. So I guess I'm also starting to get this Dutch flu. I have Oscar getting second, and Lewis. Maybe we need to have some delusion on this on this episode, and so I will provide it with Lewis. But I also think Oscar wins the sprint, which again helps him get quite a few points over Lando, which again I think is going to be key here. Winning the sprint may help dictate how the Papaya rules kind of operate for the actual Grand Prix. Let's move on to the constructors scrap. We offer most and least points by team. You cannot choose McLaren, who are probably, we probably should wrap this up as they have, but McLaren has wrapped up the Constructors Championship, but they can't be picked. Alpine is last. We can't pick them for least. I will start with Kyle. Kyle has the most points going to Mercedes and Red Bull getting the least points. I'm reading this right. It says Red Bull, so he's not on the Max train.
It says RB, so I don't know if he means Racing Bulls or
Oh,
Red
that could
Bull.
be true. Yeah, we're gonna because he has Max in his podium. I'm gonna say it's Racing Bulls. So thank you.
You know what? That makes sense.
That makes a little bit more sense. So thank you for that.
Unless Kyle's just being a massive hater, which I'm here for.
That would be funny. Meghan, your worst most and least points for the constructors.
Okay, because I picked Max to win, I feel obligated to say Red Bull, which again feels bad deep in my soul. My least, because I like to have fun. Aston Martin music, baby. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna go well for you.
Oh, that's an interesting one. Actually, you know what? It's Lance Stroll, so he's got to take multiple strays on every episode that we do. Andre, yours.
Yeah, I like the Aston Martin pick. I too have Red Bull with the most points. This is concerning me. I'm with you, Meg. I was kind of doing the thing where I'm like, I'm kind of liking this Max, and then he complained about all basically the entire weekend from qualifying on at Singapore. So that made me realize why I don't like Max, but I still think they're maybe gonna sneak most points because I don't see the Ferraris doing anything special, and I don't trust the Mercedes because they don't trust themselves. Least points, Antifa Haas.
Antifa Haas. And you know what? Like that is yeah, that's basically how it is, how it's going outside right now. I'm gonna move on. So for me, you mentioned Ferrari not doing anything. Well, I think they're gonna do something. Again, illusion might be kicking in here, but I'm also thinking it back to last year where, nobody expected Ferrari to really do anything. And then all of a sudden on turn one, lap one, both of them left. I know Carlos was in the second car at that point, but I can see them doing something similar of kind of, yeah, you guys talk about McLaren and Max and we'll just kind of drive our race and do well. So I have Ferrari with most points, and least points I have Kicksauber. I think nothing against them. I just think it's going to be a bad weekend for them. I know. It's not ideal.
The most important segment of the weekend. What does this track look like? And because we are Americans, Megan's first answer was a rifle. We then debated what different types of knives are called because it also looks like a knife. And I just want to say there's nothing more American than a track resembling a firearm that you could not purchase in any of the countries that the drivers are from.
I was going to say it is very American to look at anything and be like, "What does this look like? A weapon." That's just unfortunately this is what we are.
The worst Rorschach test of all
I
time.
know, right? Do you see a bunny or a fox? No, I see a gun.
and
Jesus Christ.
and everyone going, huh, yeah,
Yeah, all
cannot
right.
see it now.
Gonna put you on a watch list now. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it is Austin. It is Circuit of
Like
the
I wasn't
Americas.
on one already. Also, hottest of takes. Shout out to a friend who I don't think cares about F1 at all, but my friend Jed got published in the New York Times this week talking about Kansas City being the barbecue capital of the world. And I would not be a real Kansas Cityan if I didn't mention brisket is good, but burn ends are better.
Burn ends, take me back, please. Meghan, hire me so I can have burn ends every single day of the rest of my life. But I will take all the barbecue. I don't care who sends it to us. We'll take it all. We are equal opportunity barbecue enjoyers here. As we wrap up, let's talk about the schedule for this weekend because it is a loaded schedule. It starts on Friday. Free practice 1, the only free practice of the weekend, 1:25 p.m. Eastern time, that being on ESPN2, ESPN Deportes, and ESPN Plus. Your sprint qualifying will then be at 5:25 p.m. Eastern time, also on the Deuce, Deportes, and ESPN Plus. We shift to Saturday, where the first race of the day is this sprint race. That is Saturday at 12:55 p.m. on ESPN News, ESPN Deportes, and of course ESPN Plus. Right after that, at 4:55 p.m., we have qualifying for the Grand Prix, also on ESPN News, Deportes, and ESPN Plus. And then Sunday, of course, your Grand Prix, the United States Grand Prix on ABC, along with ESPN Deportes and ESPN Plus. That being at 2:55 p.m. with a replay on ESPN News on Sunday night at 7. That is it. That is all we have for the United States Grand Prix. We will obviously be back after the race to recap everything. But for Andre, for Meghan, I am Donald. Thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you again soon. Vroom, vroom.
Vroom, vroom.